It is just clear that a number of well-meaning Nigerians are against and not in support of the state of emergency being declared by the president in Rivers State on the 18th of March last month. And this especially for those that do not depend on the government for their stomach infrastructure. You know what I mean? Now, this declaration of state of emergency was followed by the suspension of the state governor, the deputy governor, and the members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. And this has not sit well with a number of so many persons. And this was also followed immediately with the appointment of a sole administrator to govern over the affairs of Rivers State via the directive of the president. So it is as though that it is the president that is now the one governing over Rivers State, just as the president is the one in charge of the FCT Abuja. You know that, right? And now the president is also the one giving directive of what should happen and what not should happen in Rivers State. The sole administrator is just there to carry out the directive of the president. So a lot of people are not just in support of this activity. And one of the organizations that spoke out immediately after the declaration of state of emergency and the suspension and the appointment of the sole administrator was the Nigerian Bar Association. Other persons, organizations, and entities also spoke out, but one of the outspoken organization was the Nigerian Bar Association, and they spoke out immediately that this was a constitutional breach and it is contrary to the provisions of the Constitution with regards to the same section 305 that gave the president the right to declare a state of emergency. However, the guidelines that the Constitution set out that the president ought to follow before declaring a state of emergency, the president did not follow that guideline, and that is what resulted to the breach of the Constitution. And therefore, the NBA said that declaration of state of emergency is unconstitutional. And now this does not matter whether the National Assembly later came around to ratify the declaration of the state of emergency. Even in the ratification by the National Assembly, they did not even follow the constitutional guideline, because the Constitution set out stated that in the ratification of the state of emergency by the National Assembly, it would be by 2/3 majority vote. However, what our National Assembly did was voice voting, and like it was just unconstitutional activities like from here and there and a whole lot of that. And now the gist of all of this is that the Nigerian Bar Association has moved its annual national conference that it holds every year. This year it was stated that it was going to be held in Port Harcourt. However, with regards to this declaration of state of emergency and to also further their stance that they are against that declaration by the president and they are not in support of it, the Nigerian Bar Association has moved the venue of its annual national convention from Port Harcourt down to another state. And this is coming just when the convention is around the corner. As a matter of fact, the early bird registration for the convention has come to an end. So what we have right now is the late registration. However, because of the reason that he gave that he's not in support of the state of emergency, now the NBA Annual General Conference is one of the major conferences that takes place in this country every year because it attracts a lot of dignitaries both within and outside Nigeria, even outside Africa, both as guest speakers, as invitees, and a whole lot of that. And in any state that this conference is being held, like that year, in that period, there's a lot of revenue generation for that state because tens of thousands of persons always attend this conference every year wherever it is being hosted, in whatever state that is being hosted. So any state that is being hosted for that year, like there's a lot of revenue that's been generated for the states. This including transportation, tourism, hospitality, accommodation, a whole lot of that. So just imagine that Port Harcourt has lost out on this revenue generation that is going to get from this Nigerian Bar Association, and the revenue is now going to go to Enugu State because it stated that Enugu State has the facility and the significant structure to host the conference. And with regards to this, like it was excitement for a number of the members of the association and even non-members of the association, stating that yes, that this is what is really needed, that the NBA has by this passed a strong message out there to the president and to whomever it concerns that this is what is needed and it has been done. However, some persons are also raising concerns that what about the sit at home that usually happens in the southeast? Wouldn't it affect the smooth running of the conference and a whole lot of that? Well, the NBA is yet to reply to that concern being raised by persons things. However, I believe that these fears are going to be sorted out, and in no time, everything is going to be calm. So, guys, like, what is your thoughts about all of this? Like, what do you just think about this? Are you in support of the NBA moving their conference venue from Harcourt to Enugu State on the ground that the declaration of the state of emergency by the president is unconstitutional? Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like and share this video, and I'll see you in the next. So there was this particular video that